This is Jonathan Agger, for Pro Boxing fans here at Anfield on deadline day, but not for the football, for the boxing. Obviously, Liam Smith back in action this Saturday with me. Sky Sports is Adam Smith. Adam, just straight into it because we don't have too much time. If Liam Smith wins against Hassan Mwakinyo on Saturday night, who do you want to see him fight?
I think first of all he's got to get through Saturday night. I think it's a dangerous opponent early. It's somebody Liam Smith should deal with his class. But I think that Mwakinyo is tough. He can punch. He came and upset Sam Eggington. He's beaten Julius Ndongo. This is a guy with nothing to lose, and they're often the really tricky ones. So Liam's in really good form. He comes off that fantastic victory over Jesse Vargas in New York, and we're really pleased to have him back on Sky. We've got a real affinity over the years with the Smith brothers and what they've done for this wonderful city. We're here at Anfield. We've always wanted a big fight night at Anfield. Maybe we can have that with Liam. Chris Eubank Jr., I suppose, is the one that everybody's talking about. And of course, Chris decided to sign up for the Conor Benn fight, which you can understand. It's a big fight. It's a big money fight. It's a casual fight. It's a fight that Chris will believe he can win because of his experience and because of his size. But Conor will go, all guns blazing to that. So let's see what happens on Saturday. Let's see what happens in October at the O2. And, maybe if Chris and Liam come through, we can get that big blockbuster, whether it's an M&S Arena night or maybe we can even stretch to, an Anfield night. I want to see boxing at Anfield. I know Eddie does as well, and we've spoken to Billy Hogan in the past. He might want to do it with Callum Smith. We'd want to do it with Liam, but I think that Liverpool want to stage a big night here. So, it'd be fantastic if it could happen at Anfield. And Liam Smith's got a huge amount ahead of him. I think he's got 2 really big years. It reminds me a bit of when Carl Froch came back to Sky at the latter part of his career, at the back end of the Super Series, and he had 2 or 3 years then, an Indian summer. He fought the likes of, obviously, George Groves a couple of times, Kessler, and had some fantastic nights. I wonder if we can have some really big nights for Liam Smith, for him. And he's been great for boxing. He's a terrific fighter, a terrific guy, and I think there's still obviously real quality there for him, and maybe he can also become a 2-time champion.
In terms of next week, Shields against Marshall, how are you seeing the performance on digital and social heading into next week? How are fans taking to this fight?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I think that September the 10th is a marquee night for Sky Sports, not alone Sky Sports Boxing, but Sky Sports in general. I think the whole business has got behind it. I think the numbers are going to be really good, social, digital. I think that the night itself is going to attract a real audience. We're seeing, obviously, women's sport has never been, on a greater level with the Lionesses, and of course the Nikita Paris and Natasha Jonas link. I wanted Tasha to fight next week in London, but I gave her a dream wish to fight at home in Liverpool. And I think that's a great hors d'oeuvre because she's got a huge fight here, a unification and a difficult fight in Liverpool. And then next week she'll be down broadcasting for us, win or lose. And it's a wonderful night. Clarissa and Savannah, one of the best fights in recent times, period, male or female. Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgarten, cannot wait for that fight. We're linking Top Rank and Matchroom, and everybody's involved in this, and it should be celebrated as a wonderful night in women's sport, a wonderful night for women's sport. I invite everyone to come down and watch it and be part of it, because I think it's going to be a night that people look back at and say that was when things really, really hit a peak, or really changed, or it really transformed, because the women have been outstanding in the last 3 or 4 years, and the pioneers of Jane Couch and Katie Taylor before them, and the likes of Chantel and Terry and everyone that's come through, and all the women that are holding world titles, and the next generation of your Carolines, your Laurens, your Carases, those 3 could not wait to be on this bill. And I think it's a special night, an all-female card in the UK for the first time, and we're very, very proud to have that on Sky Sports, not on box office, and we think the numbers socially, digitally and linear will be huge.
On box office, obviously, Usyk Joshua the other week, you didn't have, I guess, too much time to promote it everywhere, but people did know about the fight when it came about. Did it do how you expected it to do better than the first fight?
No, it did well. It did really well. I don't know the exact numbers because they're still coming in, but we're really pleased from a business point of view. And it was a really good fight. It was a better fight than the first time around. AJ was much more competitive and had his moment in the 9th round where he could have possibly stopped Usyk, but Usyk came back in the 10th. There was drama through it. There was close rounds. He was much better, Anthony, this time around. And Oleksandr, I think, was better even still as well. What he showed in terms of skills, he'd shown that us at Tottenham that he could deal with heavyweights in terms of skills, but he showed, the minerals as well to come through that crisis in the 9th and to spin it on its head again. And you've got to take your hats off to Oleksandr Usyk. What an absolutely phenomenal fighter he is, once in a generation, and alongside Tyson Fury. And I think that's what AJ was sort of getting at afterwards in that awkward, difficult sort of just speech with the microphone, and something obviously that we look back on, and he'd obviously want to have done it in a better way, and it was Oleksandr Usyk's moment. But I think what he was getting at in that speech was respect for Usyk, but the fact that he had come to boxing late, and he's a 2-time heavyweight champion, and Tyson and Oleksandr are almost born to box, weren't they? They've had these wonderful amateur careers, and especially Oleksandr, who had, I think he won 335 out of 350 amateur bouts, and you just see what a career he's had. And I think Anthony was saying, look, I competed with him, and that's brilliant. And I think the boxing was the winner. I think it was a fantastic fight. I think we were really pleased at Sky Sports box office. Usyk can go on to the big clash with Tyson Fury, and AJ can go on and have a really good career still, and maybe become still a 3-time heavyweight champion. I think both of them in the ring for those 12 rounds came out with in a shining light.
Well, with Usyk a long time on Sky. Obviously, people are talking about the Tyson Fury fight, but would you be interested in working with Usyk again on Sky, having him back on the platform?
Of course we'd be interested. Oleksandr Usyk has been a big part of Sky for the last 4 or 5 years. AJ's been a big part even longer. We'd love to be still working with AJ, but we know he signed a deal with DAZN. So obviously we'll look at Team Usyk, and we know them like we do T58, and we thought we'd have AJ still for the rest of his career, and that's a disappointment for us. But we're always going to back him, always going to support Anthony, because he's been brilliant for our business, and we've been brilliant for him, and he'll go on, and we wish him well with DAZN, with Matchroom. Of course we do, but we've got to look at our business, and of course we want to work with Oleksandr Usyk. He's a fantastic fighter. He's a wonderful role model. Look at what he's done and how he's represented his country, which has gone through such a difficult and traumatic year. Our hearts are with them, and he's been a shining light for them. He's been a beacon of hope, and I know he's now back in Ukraine, and I think that's wonderful. And of course we'll be sitting down with Team Usyk and hoping that we can work with him again, of course.
So no discussions as of yet with Team Usyk?
Look, I think it's a chance for the team to go back to Ukraine. Oleksandr, I know, wanted to go there with his foundation. There'll be conversations, of course. I keep up with the Aegis and with Alex, like I do with Freddie and with KD and with everyone on AJ's side, and most of the teams, Shelley Finkel with Deontay Wilder and all the others. Even if we haven't got a deal with them, you always talk, and it's obvious that Team Usyk will shop around. Of course they will. I mean, they've got a prized possession. They'll look to what BT will offer, or DAZN or Sky. Of course, they rightfully should do that. But I think they do like Sky. I think they like what we stand for, what we've done for Oleksandr over the years, and like we did with AJ. I think they've seen that. So why wouldn't there be more conversations going forward? And we've got a very good relationship with Team Usyk, and I look forward to those.
Last time we saw KSI on the weekend, and the YouTube card, obviously you showed the KSI Logan Paul rematch. It seemed to do very good numbers across the board on YouTube and DAZN, etc. Eddie Hearn said, if these type of shows continue, sort of broadcasters may be more inclined to show them than sort of normal boxing, I guess, that we watch. So, what do you think of that? And would Sky consider showing one of these cards in the future?
Well, I think, look, we have sort of been there, haven't we, with KSI and Logan Paul. There was a lot of criticism from the trade, from boxing fans saying, what are you doing? This isn't boxing. This is, average stuff. You're taking away the area champions are better. They should be having the headlines. I get that. I understand that. But we've also got to think about, what is the customer's need out there. and people want entertainment, and there are a younger generation, and I believe most of those big numbers before KSI were the 18 to 24 brigade. My kids talk about KSI and Logan Paul, and they did before that one, and I think that we learned something when we worked with them. We also showed the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather exhibition too, so we have dipped our toes in, and I really enjoyed working with the likes of Bazinga and Joe Weller and everybody on that build-up in LA. I think they're fantastic, the influencers. Are they the most fantastic fighters? No, but are they terrific for entertainment and for what they're doing? And if they're fighting at their level and they're fighting good fights, or they're bringing interest to boxing, why not? You can look at it and say Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Junior is, some people will say, well, it's a complete, it's ridiculous that it's been made when the weights are, so far apart. So people are going to be criticising about that. People are going to be criticising, saying Eubank's much more experienced than Conor. People are saying, why is Conor jumping into this? But ultimately, it's what people are going to want to watch, and there's going to be a great deal of interest in this fight because it's the curiosity factor, the two dads, the legends, are their sons, can they put on as good a show, who's going to win it, it's the rivalry, it's a casual curiosity fight. And I think you've got to look at the likes of KSI and these sort of nights and say that they are plugging a void maybe, or an area for entertainment. I think the key for me is that if they're seeing this, they should also be seeing some of the best fighters. I think where we went with KSI and Logan Paul was at LA. We also had Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney on. Now, they weren't in great fights, either of them, which was a shame because those were the two fighters that people, the younger generation, could have seen. Wow, we love those guys. We love them. They're really good fighters. And either of them didn't perform that well that night. But I think that's the sort of future. The future is, I don't mind the entertainment at all. If you're going to get bums on seats, if you're going to get the younger generation involved. But I think also show them what's great about, the day-to-day in boxing, what's great about Adan Aziz against Shakir Peters, and what's good about Adam Azim coming through, that he's not an influencer, but he's building a social following on the basis of what he's doing in the ring. But it is an entertainment business, and I think that we have to be aware of that. So I'm not going to sit here and criticise any of them. KSI and Vidal Riley are close. Vidal Riley's one of our fighters. He's a fighter. He wants to be known as a fighter, not an influencer. Or KSI is doing his own thing, but he wants to also be a good boxer. So I think there's room for all of this. I think that it's just bringing eyeballs to boxing, and I think that the sport of boxing is in a great place at the moment. Everyone's fighting over shows. DAZN are putting on loads, BT are putting on loads, Channel 5 putting on loads. I mean, let's not forget, there was a time when Sky were the only show in town where year in, year out, we were committing ourselves to boxing. And what happened? Last year, we lost all our fighters. Ben Shalom comes in, Todd DeBerth comes in. We've got great new deals with Boxer, who we are working so well with Top Rank, who bring us all the global boxing in. That's fantastic. There's a resurgence in it. Why not have other entertainment? There's WWE, there's UFC, there's MMA, there's all sorts of other things out there within the sort of boxing combat world. There's a place for boxing, and there always will be. It goes back to, the Marquess of Queensberry rules and beyond. And there's nothing like a big heavyweight fight to stop traffic. It just stops traffic. But there is room, in my eyes, for all sorts of entertainment. Whether there's room for huge amounts of pay-per-view shows and a lot of money being thrown in, maybe that has to be looked at. Because suddenly, if everything becomes pay-per-view every week, that's going to be harder. We pride ourselves on the fact that we're giving great value on Sky Sports. That's why next week is not a Sky Sports box office fight. It's a Sky Sports fight. That's why Eubank and Williams, when people were saying to us, oh, that should be pay-per-view, no, it's a Sky Sports night. So we want to try and give value. Cattrall and Taylor as well, the first time around. We want to try and give value on Sky Sports. Some fights have to be box office fights. That's where we get the extra sparkle, the extra razzmatazz, but there's purses to cover. It's a business, and everybody has to remember it's a business. But KSI is doing only, listen, if people are going to tune in and watch him, and your views are going through the roof, why not go again? You'd be silly not to. Am I going to sit and criticise that? Absolutely not. Good luck to them. But I think there's a place for all of this. What we've got to remember is that it's entertaining, and they're choosing boxing. or white-collar boxing is on the up because people want to box because they've been inspired by your AJs, by your Katie Taylors, by now your Adam Nazeems, hopefully, by all of these guys and girls. And let's hope that KSI wanted to do it because he loves the sport. And you won't see him bad-mouthing boxing. He'll be there cheering Vidal on because he loves boxing. And if it's getting eyeballs on, and if my son and daughter are more interested in watching KSI because he's KSI and cool and he's got an Instagram following, but they're watching boxing, might mean they'll tune on to Saturday Fight Night as well.
Well, there you have it. Adam Smith, thanks for talking to pro boxing fans, and look forward to seeing Liam Smith back in action on Sky this weekend.
Yep, look forward to it. Should be a really good night and the right night for Liverpool.